Call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors of January 22nd to order. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson? Present. Supervisor Carroll? Here. Supervisor Elias?
Para civiles.
Supervisor Miller?
Here.
Chairman Valadez?
Present.
Let the record show all members are present.
Today's invocation will be offered by Bishop John Juice to Sahuarita Third Ward Church of Latter-day Saints and will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Bronson. Please stand. Bishop.
Our dear beloved Father in heaven, as we humbly bow our heads before Thee, we'd like to thank Thee for all the many blessings that we enjoy. We're grateful, Father, for this great country that we live in, for this opportunity that we have to be able to have the freedoms that we enjoy, to be able to meet freely in settings such as this, that we might be able to express our feelings freely and without fear of recourse. We're grateful for the blessings of heaven. We're grateful for all that Thou hast given to each and every one of us. We're grateful, Father in heaven, for the freedoms that we enjoy and for the brothers and sisters that serve in the armed services. We pray that Thou will watch over and bless them and their families and protect them and take care of them. We pray that Thou will bless our elected officials. Bless those at the federal, state, and local levels. Especially, Father in heaven, watch over and bless these members of the Board of Supervisors. Bless them and their families, that they might be protected, that they might be able to seek wisdom at Thy hand as they make decisions that affect all of us as they have these difficult decisions to make. Bless them and guide them with wisdom. And we're so grateful for all these many blessings, and these favors and blessings we pray for in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bishop. Next, we have Pause for Pause, and today we have with Officer Bowden Royo.
Good morning. This is Royo, or Rolo, however you want to say it. He is a approximately 2-year-old male pit bull terrier. He's very well mannered. Sit, Rolo, Rolo, Rolo. Sit. Good boy. So we've worked quite a bit with him. He's very good on a leash and very well mannered. He's been with us since October though, so he's having a little bit of difficulty finding a home. Most dogs usually get in and out of there within a couple weeks. He's been there a couple months. He has been through our Tuesday's Tale program going on the local news. He's been to a local photographer. He has his own book of photos. Very well-mannered dog and has been great with everybody. Hasn't given anybody any trouble, but for whatever reason, he's just getting passed up. He is part of our adoption promotion this month. All dogs are going for $13 plus a $15 licensing fee. It's a fantastic dog, as you can see, very, very docile and happy to get the attention that he can get. He needs to be neutered still. So it will take a day or so for us to schedule that if you intend on adopting him. He's down at our facility and welcome to the public to view him, take him out, visit with him from 12 p.m. until 7 p.m. on weekdays, from 10 until 5 on the weekends. Our facility is located at 4000 North Silver Bell. We welcome you to come on down and check out all of our animals. If you care to make a donation, you can go to our website, pimaanimalcare.org, click on the green bar, and you can make a donation. More than that, I encourage people with a little extra time on your hands to please come down and consider volunteering. One of our great things for volunteers to do is to walk the dogs. Those dogs love to get out. We have a great lake behind our facility, great people volunteering, great way to meet people, meet dogs, spend a little of your spare time doing something for the very deserving animals in our community. If you have any questions about this dog or other dogs, feel free to call our facility. Our licensing number is 243-5969. And again, we're open weekdays from noon until 7 p.m. and weekends from 10 to 7. So Rolo will be down there and available for viewing after noon today. He's eager to get out of there and get a new home. Like I said, he's been there since the end of October, which is before Halloween. So since Halloween, this dog has been waiting for a home. So if you yourself need a dog, perfect option here. If you don't, if you know somebody that does, I encourage people to give this dog a chance because he has been waiting a little bit longer than most of the other dogs, and he really is just as worthwhile as any other dog in our shelter. Just for whatever reason, he's getting passed up. So appreciate your time, and Rolo does too. He's been well-mannered, as you can see.
Excuse me, officer.
Yes, sir.
You know, I was wondering, do you think that dog would make a good partner for like a journalism student in college?
I think that this dog would make a great partner for anybody, but especially a journalist.
Especially a journalism student,
Absolutely.
you know, that probably couldn't pay the fees.
Absolutely.
I'm sure Supervisor Valadez would be willing to do that this particular meeting, don't you think?
Certainly.
See, look at that. That is symbiotic behavior on the part of the board members. So, you know, I think if there's anybody here who'd be willing to do that, we'd sure like to see this dog go home with somebody today.
Absolutely. And I would encourage absolutely a journalism student to consider a dog like this.
Or an automotive services worker.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Don,
Journalism,
I'm not pointing
though,
any one person out, but
in particular for journalism, though, this breed tends to get a little bit of a bad rap, and I think a journalism student could definitely be able to get the word out there that they are great dogs, and not necessarily living up to the reputation that some of them have.
It would make actually a good story, for the paper.
actually, you know, or somebody could put it on the radio at KUAT.
That'd be great. Thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you.
Come on, Ron.
All right, thank you, Royo and Officer Bowden. We have several changes to the agenda. Page 2 of the regular agenda, item 8, will be continued to February 5th, and that's the TEP contract under wastewater. Page 3, item 9, hearings, franchises, permits, liquor license 12-42-9139 Sushi Trans. Staff requests a continuance to the Board of Supervisors meeting of February 5th, 2013 to meet the posting requirements. Page 3, item number 13, Wine Festival, change of applicant name from Lori Marie Reynolds to Gordon R. Dutt, representing Sonoita Vineyards. Addendum page 1, executive session item A regarding a potential settlement with Robeson Communities in Pima County. Staff requests the item be removed from the agenda. Without objection, those will be the changes to the agenda. We do have one executive session item. Do I hear a motion to move into executive session?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. We'll return after the one executive session calendar item at the sound of the gavel. Call this meeting back to order. We had one item on the executive session calendar. Council, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, executive session item B on the addendum agenda concerns a possible claim against the state of Arizona for reimbursement of costs incurred by Pima County for child visit transports. The county attorney seeks authorization to proceed as discussed in executive session.
Move the county attorney's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the county attorney's recommendation, proceed as it discussed in executive session on item number B on the executive session calendar and on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. We do not have any speaker cards for consent calendar item only. Is anyone here want to address the board at a consent calendar item only? If not, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
seeing no one come forward to address the board and the fact that we did not amend the consent calendar, I'll move consent in its entirety.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve consent in its entirety. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 6.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move items 6 and 7.
Second.
Okay, motion.
The
and a sec-
validation of the petitions from Mountain Vista Fire District.
Motion and a second to approve item number 6 and number 7. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. The item number 8A has been continued to the meeting of February 5th.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move items 8B, 1, 2, and 3. These are pre-settlement treatment agreements, pre-treatment settlement agreements. Do you like that one? I switched them around there. Pre-treatment settlement agreements for Golden Dragon Restaurant, Ole Mexican Grill, and BW Dig.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 8B, 1, 2, 3. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Hearings, franchises, license and permits. Item number 9 has been continued to February 5th. And item 13 has the name change, I believe.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'm going to go ahead and, seeing no one come forward to speak to us on any of these items in the public hearing, close the public hearings on items 10, 11, 12, and move their passage.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing and approve item 10, 11, and 12. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 13.
Does changed
We had a name change.
item 13?
13.
Yeah,
Does-
that was a name.
That wasn't, yeah, you didn't move it though.
Yes, he did.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't. I thought we had
Mr.
delayed that, but
Chairman.
it was just that change of the
Supervisor Carroll.
applicant name.
Mr. Chairman,
My apologies.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the wine festival license, I'd like to go ahead and close the public hearing and move number 13 for Shinoida Vineyards, including the name change, at the Great Green Valley Recreation Center at 1111 South Via Arco Iris in Green Valley.
Second.
Could that be considered an invitation to join you at the wine
Please
festival,
do.
Supervisor?
You know, that wine comes all the way from wine country, Sonoyta.
Well,
So
you-
come over to Green Valley and please enjoy. I know Tom Ward will be there, won't you, Tom? See, there you
so
go.
the 3 of us could go?
Yeah, all of us. They better bring a couple of flasks.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Motion before us is to close the public hearing and approve item number 13. Any discussion? Other than that, which has already occurred. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Development Services, unfinished business, zoning code text amendment, item number 14, CO 8-12-07. Do we have a staff report on that one?
Yes,
Chris?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before you is a request for essentially a zoning code text amendment package with several items. It was originally presented to the Board of Supervisors on December 18th, continued then for staff to spend some time and work out some concerns that some neighbors had expressed leading into the December 18th meeting. I'd like to go over the proposal and sort of save the items that were in need of greater discussion towards the end. So here I go. Starting with one of the things we were proposing to do is introduce a definition for a contractor's yard. The code has a series of rules and regulations regarding a contractor's yard, but never defined what it is. We're not proposing to change any of the rules, maybe a screening requirement, an acreage requirement, a requirement for a conditional use permit, but only to introduce a definition for a contractor's yard. And we've received no neighbor feedback on this part of the amendment. Another part of the request is a proposal to allow for small 200 square foot shade structure to then take on a setback in a corral rather than be subject to a setback for a animal shade structure. Right now you could have a corral that could be allowed to be as close as 10 feet to a neighbor's property line. A corral is a place where you could locate the horses, but if you're going to provide shade, currently that setback typically is a greater distance away. So what we are seeing is people corralling horses but unable to put and provide even a minimal amount of shade. So what we're proposing is a small area of 200 square feet that would take on then the corral setback. Again, we received no neighbor input on that aspect of the zoning code text amendment. Another change we're proposing has to do with the development plan requirement for conditional use permits. Right now, the code mandates that every conditional use permit in the county, after it goes through the public hearing, whether it's a type 1, type 2, or type 3, that at the end of the day, the use would require a development plan. And a development plan is sort of the equivalent of a commercial subdivision plat. A lot of engineering, a lot of time, a lot of cost. It unto itself has also become a bit of a trigger document where if you're required to do a development plan, then you may be required to provide additional paving and chip sealing. So what staff is proposing is to take the mandate out, the outright requirement for a development plan out, and let the process play out. Whereas staff could recommend, and then the hearing administrator or the Board of Supervisors ultimately voting on a conditional use permit could, if they see fit, condition and require a development plan. So one example we would see would probably typically require a development plan is a retail use. We had a Quick Trip off of Valencia Road that actually came through the conditional use permit process. That's the type of use we would expect, and staff would certainly recommend you're going to do a development plan. But there's other uses that are maybe more rural, that maybe would have less of an impact on neighborhoods and then less likely to require a development plan. Say a rural vet clinic, we think we could still apply all our rules and regulations without requiring a development plan. That aspect of the zoning code text amendment, we also didn't receive any neighbor concern on. Another amendment we're proposing right now, or the zoning code states, anytime you're splitting for sale or for lease and creating then 6 or more lots, you're required to obtain a subdivision. The code is silent in regards to commercial property. State statute does provide essentially an exemption for the platting requirements for commercial property. We want to then align our code to the state rules and not require a subdivision plat for commercial property whenever there's 6 or more splits occurring. Historically, we used to bring to the board, we call them plat waivers. We would see this typically with a office building where the property owner wanted to do some type of condo sale of it. We would then bring to the board a request for plat waiver. We're proposing, again, just to take the subdivision requirement out and align it with state statute, and we have not received any input on that request. What we did receive a lot of input on are proposed changes to the home occupation aspect of the code. December 18th, we had presented a version that staff felt would work, essentially providing a lot of expansions for somebody to do home occupations. Again, it was continued to today. We since met with most of everybody who had sent in correspondence regarding the home occupation standards, came up with then a proposal and provided it to the board dated January 15th. There were still lingering issues, and ultimately then we provided a third version of the code amendment dated January 18th, 2013, and I'd like to go over briefly what we did. Originally, on December 18th, we were, again, trying to expand home occupations, but do so that it would still be an amount of use that should have no minimal negative impact on neighborhoods. But again, there was quite a bit of neighbor concern, so we took a fresh look at things. What we've ultimately proposed is to expand the client cap. In any given day, today, the zoning code only allows 5 clients to come to a home occupation use with no more than 2 at a time. We're proposing to get rid of the limit of 2 at a time outright and just allow up to 7 in a given day. We are also then proposing to allow for an exception from a previously prohibition for commercial food preparation to now allow for home-baked goods and confectionaries as a home occupation. This home-baked goods and confectionaries aspect of the code change did trigger some neighbor concern, primarily because we were originally going to expand the commercial food preparation, not just for that use, but for any type of commercial food preparation operated out of a home. So a traditional catering company we had originally proposed would then be eligible to come through as a home occupation. We've pulled that back. We've distilled it down to only allow for home-baked goods and confectionaries, which is aligned to a state statute change that occurred, I believe, in November 2012. Another change that we had originally proposed to the board was to allow for, the idea was, instead of going to the Board of Adjustment to then expand some of these restrictions on a home occupation, we would allow through direct neighbor mailing an expansion route, where if we mailed to neighbors within 300 feet of the property, if there was no neighbor objection, we still met all the parameters of home occupation, we would have then allowed for an expansion of floor area, expansion of customers, expansion of non-resident employees to work at the home occupation. There was quite a bit of neighbor concern then about what is a fair method of notice. Who should we notice? The January 15th, we had presented then a notice area similar to that of a rezoning, but ultimately before you, the January 18th version, we took out the expanded home occupation process out altogether. So what we have before you, though, are many code changes, including some expansions to home occupations, but we think the third version, the January 18th version, should address neighbor concerns.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor List.
Chris,
Yes,
just so we're clear for the public's sake that might be watching this on TV and folks here in the room, when we talk about home occupation and preparing food, there's also health code implications to all of that. Not addressed here, but please explain that or comment on that so that people understand, because it is a serious matter. And just hearing you talk, I started to think about someone could misconstrue some of the comments you made.
Sure. No, that's a very good question. Our code currently prohibits commercial food preparation as a home occupation, period. So we had originally proposed to allow for it. The allowance then would give somebody then the ability to come in through the zoning process, but also still work with the health department. It would have been a dual process where you could come through zoning, get a zoning clearance, but also you're going to be working with the health department.
Right.
What happened in November, again, was a state statute change to allow for home-baked and confectionery goods. Essentially, they were exempt from a lot of the rules of health departments. There still are controls, there still are requirements regarding cleanliness, but you don't have to go through the typical commercial kitchen type aspect of a health department review. We saw that then as an opportunity to have a conversation about commercial food preparation from home beyond just the scope of that little exception for home-baked goods and confectionaries. And those are things that are typically, if you prepare them, you can leave them on the counter, they won't spoil. So cookies, fudge, brownies, cupcakes with a hard icing, those you can make under this exemption. But again, we were trying to then open the door for this discussion for a catering company, which we had no intention of waiving any health department requirements. It just would allow them to have that conversation.
Right. Well, that's an item of great concern in my district with the number of food carts that we have throughout the district. And then they're moving further out into more areas of the unincorporated area of the county. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered that in some meaningful way so people understood that those.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
I've had a lot of phone calls regarding this issue from various associations, homeowner associations, and also the Tucson Mountain Homeowner Association. Dr. Ivy Schwartz came to my office last week, and they're very concerned about the increased traffic in their neighborhoods. And also, they are also didn't get the information in a timely manner. They would like to have more time to look at this. I also got phone calls from individuals that live up in the foothills that are very concerned about traffic, increased traffic in their neighborhoods. And also the home cooking is the smells are very concerning to some of the constituents. Donna from the La Cañada McGee Homeowner Association was very concerned about that and the traffic in the neighborhoods. And I believe that we have a lot of different issues mixed in here, and I think that's why people have become very confused. And it took me a long time to read through the code and understand it. And I was looking at it this weekend, and I got the revision, and I think you tried to work out the issues and done a really good job with that, Chris. But also there were people who didn't get the opportunity to actually review it, and so they were requesting more time on this. And so I would like to move that we continue this to a future date so that other individuals can have the opportunity to come in and address the board. And I do have 3 letters that I would like to enter into the record. One of them I received on January 21st from the La Cañada McGee Homeowner Association, signed by Donna Heidler. And the other one is from Rita Hall, who is from the Northwest Neighborhoods Coalition. And they are concerned about the new revision and that they didn't get time to review and comment. And the last one is again from the La Cañada McGee Homeowner Association. They would like more time to review and comment on this. And I think with the complexity of this issue, just having to go through it myself and read through all the code to understand it, with so many items in there, that may have really confused people. So I'd like to move that we do continue this to a future date.
To a specific date?
To the February 5th hearing.
Okay.
Second for the sake of discussion.
Discussion?
I just, point of clarification, I guess, Supervisor Miller, is the concern largely around the home occupation, correct?
Well, the concern is around numerous things, the dust that may be kicked up from increased traffic in the neighborhoods with 7 vehicles now allowed to be at the home, and also degrading the fabric of the neighborhood is another comment that I heard from folks who have their children out in the neighborhood, in these neighborhood associations, and they're afraid that now there's going to be increased traffic, people that aren't known in the neighborhood coming into the neighborhoods, and they're very concerned about that. Dust kick up, delivery vehicles for home occupation, if there's allowed an expansion of that with more vehicle traffic.
But the focus is, in terms of the ordinance itself, the focus is on the home occupation, not on the other aspects of the ordinance.
Right, correct.
I'm wondering, this home occupation seems to be the place where we have the issues. Would it be possible, can we separate that out and continue that till February 5th. And if the majority of the board has no problems with the rest of the amendments to the ordinance, could we move that forward today, or does this all have to go as a package?
I'd like to see it go as a package because everyone was reviewing this at the last minute, and I'd like to see them all get an opportunity to review the whole package of amendments.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
you know, I talked to the folks from the west side that were here on Friday, and it seems to me they have some very specific concerns that we could fix right now today and move forward with this item and pass it and get it taken care of at this point. I'd hate to see that we leave out any neighborhoods from having their say-so in it, but it seems to me this ordinance was born in District 1, and those neighborhoods had considerable say-so throughout the summer and fall of last year. I'd be
There
willing
was-
to wait,
there was,
but I'm just saying that it strikes me that last time we discussed this matter, we said we were going to let these folks have their say-so. I'm all for letting them have their say-so, making whatever changes we need to make to it that are not substantial changes, but I think probably logical ones, and moving forward.
They would like
I
the
see that we have
opportunity-
people here, we're already on the item right now. I would just think that we should move forward on it.
They would like the opportunity to review it since there was a revision that came out at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon.
Right.
So, and most people, there were a lot of people who were out of town this weekend because of the holiday. So I'm asking that we continue this to February 5th, the whole item.
Yeah, I have no objection to that, but we do have several members,
Yeah,
several
we gotta let our
members in the
folks speak. They're
audience.
already here,
If
yeah.
we could give them an opportunity to talk, that would be.
Certainly, why don't we do it at this point? Have Carol D'Angelia, I'm sorry. Please identify yourself for the record. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Carol D'Angeli. I'm representing the Oracle Foothills Neighborhood Association. And Donna Heidinger had asked me to read into the record the letter that she sent, but I believe this is the one that you have already,
Yeah, I have 2 letters from her.
dated 1/21.
That's correct. I have the January 21st one.
So you have that, and that's in the record then?
Yeah. I'm going to submit it for the record, yes.
Okay. So I don't need to read that. Is that what you're saying?
No.
I think she sent them to all of us.
Okay, fine. She wasn't sure because of the lateness of the timing that you would have had a chance to read it. On behalf of my neighborhood association, I would like to say that we'd like to commend Development Services for working with us and for listening to the neighborhood concerns. They've been very good about making changes based upon the things that we have asked. And the other thing I would like to say is that we'd like to ask that the whole accessory building, which is really a big part of my concern, is allowing home occupations in accessory buildings. We'd like to ask that the accessory building code be reviewed with the comprehensive plan review, if that takes place this year.
And I think that in the latest version, the January 18th, the expansion of the allowable area regarding accessory structure is not included at this point. So it's not included.
Correct.
Yeah,
I understand
okay.
that.
But
yes.
you want to.
But the entire accessory building is still an issue, so.
Okay.
Chris, has this issue been discussed by this working group before with this neighborhood?
What happened, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, is this home occupation proposal, you know, an aspect of a home occupation is they are allowed to occupy a portion of a detached building. What we heard overwhelmingly from neighborhood groups was that there are minimal controls about the design, the look of accessory structures in the code today. That, you know, people are erecting prefabricated metal buildings that are very arguably unsightly, and then the concern had to do with, well, if you're going to make it easier for people to occupy these things for home occupations, we're likely to see more. Which brings up sort of a whole nother aspect of our code, and that is our regulation of design. Our code, for the most part, unless you're located, say, within a hillside area or on a major route, we don't dictate what things look like. For better or for worse, we don't. You could build a very ugly main home. You could build a very arguably ugly metal detached building.
Right.
And I think what the neighbors have brought up is maybe we need to take another look. And I'll tell you, with a comprehensive plan, that could be a good opportunity for us to really look at
Take a look at those design
the way things are
questions,
built,
yeah.
design, all the
Yeah.
other elements that go with that. So.
Chris, was this a section of the code text change here? Changed in the final that was sent out on 3 o'clock on Friday?
No, there was some version that softened our expansion on the January 15th version, and ultimately the January 18th version, correct, we are proposing not to expand the floor area use of a detached building, and then we also took out the overall through neighbor mailing expansion for more. The only thing that could come into play here then is our general expansion of clients per day. You know, one could argue then.
So there were no substantial changes made to that section in this latest version?
No, and we had originally proposed to double the area within. We're pulling that out. And then we're also originally proposing then through neighbor mailing to even double that further. So
Right.
in theory, our original version could have allowed for 800 square feet. We pulled both those back, and we're down
pulled
to
both those back
200
already.
square feet. Correct.
Chris, when I look
So
at
we've
this.
had a lot of give on this already. And, excuse me, let me finish,
Sorry.
Supervisor.
Sorry.
Did your group participate in the formation of this code text change during the fall and summer of last year?
No, we didn't. We
You
weren't
didn't?
even, we weren't aware of it, and that's
Oh, you weren't aware at
part of
all?
the issue too, is that
That's a bigger problem.
neighborhoods like mine, it's really difficult to find out these things are being even talked about. So,
Really?
and we have a very active neighborhood association. There's many people that don't, and you know, without combing through the planning and zoning board agenda, you know, it's really difficult to know that what is being changed. So we weren't, and I didn't know about it until just prior to the December meeting. That's when I got involved, and that's when some of the other neighborhoods that I correspond with found out about it as well. And so
I
that's why.
had calls this weekend from several people who had just found out about it on Friday.
Mhm.
So they were notified, they didn't know, they weren't aware this was even going on.
Correct. Yeah,
So
it's,
the
yeah, I think the
Foothills
notification
Association.
is difficult. So that is an issue. The other thing, changing gears a little bit, but one of the things about the original was that they were going to allow expansion through neighbor notification. And part of our issue with neighbor notification, we have a CR1 zoned neighborhood, and it's only 300 feet,
Right.
which is really.
And I think that's one of the changes that some of these folks from the west side had wanted to include.
Right, and I
too,
understand
that we
that-
could do up here today, right now.
Yeah, I understand why, you know, they want to keep it the same as for a rezoning, and I think we're only 300 feet in a rezoning, but I just want to say it's not enough.
I think that's
You
a
know, in
reasonable
a-
accommodation to make. I agree with you.
And especially in neighborhoods like mine, where it's all 1 acre and up, 300 feet is really inadequate. And I have no objection to not continuing this item. If you want to pass it today, I have no objection to that.
Good.
So.
Thank you. I think that would be good.
One of the questions I had was on the home occupation definition, that last final version that you sent out on page 3 of 6 that I received on the 18th. If you look at 1809030A2, it does not define the square footage of the home occupation. It just says the home occupation must be conducted in a dwelling or in an accessory building. It doesn't define the square footage in there, so that was confusing people because you had originally had 800 square feet, and now there's nothing in there defining how many square feet.
Correct, Mr. Chair, Board of Supervisors. Lesson learned on when we made this proposal to the board, we were only showing the proposed changes and then within the immediate context of surrounding verbiage of the code. In hindsight and in the future zoning code text amendments,
Need to include
no
the
more
whole-
shortcuts.
Right.
We're going to show
Yeah.
the board, the world, the entire affected chapter.
Yeah.
Might mean a little longer ordinance, but I think it's worth
That's
it.
perfectly all right, yeah.
So what we have in the existing code that we're not proposing to change is that control. It's a number 5. So you're reading a number 2. So further down the list, had it been shown, we have a number 5 that reads, not more than 1/4 of the floor area of one story of the main dwelling, or an accessory building of not more than 200 square feet in area shall be used for the home occupation. So we have an area limitation elsewhere in the code. We're not proposing to change it. And I think that's another issue too, is because we took it out of context, the neighbors don't see all the other controls. We have 13 other controls in here that, even despite the proposed changes, should still keep these home occupations within a confine that they should look like and feel like any other house, with a minor bit of signage, with a minor bit of visitors. At the end of the day, a home occupation shouldn't look like a home occupation. It should look like a home. So, lesson learned on that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's where a lot of the confusion came in, and that's why I'm asking for a continuance, is because it was, there was confusion and people still have questions. So I don't see the harm in asking this be moved to February 5th. Does anyone have an urgency to, is there a reason that this has to be passed today, or is another couple of weeks going to make a difference, I guess is my question. That's why I put the motion on the table.
There's no urgency, is there?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, there's no urgency. This is a staff-created, staff-initiated, essentially. Ultimately, the board or the commission initiates it, but we're the one who dreamt this up. We do think there should be some urgency in regards to aligning with state statute where we can. It just leads to a lot of confusion. There are some elements of it here. We did meet with not every neighbor obviously concerned, but we did host a neighborhood meeting. We had presented then a version on the 15th that was a compromise. Staff thought that, again, with all the other controls in the ordinance that we weren't changing, that any of the 3 versions could work. But ultimately then, yes, late Friday, we did come up with another version to the board that the board may vote on and act on if they still felt that these changes were going to have a negative impact on the neighborhood. So that's why it was late. It was just to provide the board another option of.
No, you're just emulating Mr. Huckleberry. That's when he likes to release things.
Well, the only thing I've heard is that, this issue about the CR1 moving the notice to 1,000 feet. But I'd like to hear from our friends at the Tucson Mountains.
All right, I have several of them who are in line to speak. Let me call Ed Verberg to please come up, sir. Identify yourself for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Because that's an easy change to make.
Good morning. My name is Ed Verberg, and I'm on the board of the Tucson Mountains Association, immediate past president. But I'm also the agent for the road maintenance on a 3-mile dirt road, including West Lazy Sea Drive,
Congratulations.
Chaos Canyon, and Rhyolite Loop. And believe me, if you drive them today, they're in good shape. They might not be after the next big rain. Anyway, thanks for your time. 2 things we want to say. First is, thanks to the staff, Chris Poirier and supervisors, you've listened to us, we've met with you, where we've asked for a meeting, where we've called you, you've gotten back to us. This is true local government working, where you're listening to your constituents. So our compliments to the board and to your staff. Frankly, they listened. And they made huge changes, which, as you said, are not necessarily apparent to those in the audience because it came so late. Literally, I had to talk to Chris this morning to get the final edition. But to be completely honest with you, while we'd like the 1,000 feet notification, and we'd like all residents on a dirt road to be notified because of the impacts on the traffic and the road conditions. So 1,000 feet for the CR1 we think is appropriate. But also, if you're going to have any mixed use on a single family development, if you're going to impose another use, we think it's important for the neighbors that are going to pay for the maintenance on that road to be notified.
Good point.
So we appreciate your idea of the continuance. It makes a lot of sense, but after we talked to staff, basically they've accommodated us except for the 1,000 feet. So we're almost there, if not there. So, hey, great job. That's all we can say. Thank you for what you've done.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Roger Carpenter. Please come up, sir. Identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Roger Carpenter. I'm a member of the Gates Pass Area Neighborhood Association and the Tucson Mountains Association. And I came here preparing to ask for an extension or a continuance of this issue, but I've even got more information this morning from Mr. Poirier. And I would like to say that an earlier version of this proposal prompted a meeting of a number of concerned residents with Mr. Poirier and Ms. Pedrego. We thank them for their time and for some of the revisions in the proposal they made as a result of that meeting. We also appreciate the time spent with Supervisor Miller last week. Only last night after dinner did I receive the third version of the proposal to modify the code. And to understand all the changes, I would have had to compare the new text with the text in the existing code and the previous several proposals. There has not been time for me to understand all of these, though I think that I am comfortable with the latest version. I certainly agree with the removal of all food preparation options with the exception of home baking. And I urge the board to adopt a 1,000-foot distance for notification of neighbors in so-called rural zones for matters before the Board of Adjustment, as well as for residents in the CR1 district. A 300-foot radius from the affected property is simply not sufficient to notify sufficient numbers of neighbors. The proposed changes, regardless of what they wind up to be, have the potential to affect residents and neighborhoods throughout Tucson and Pima County. Yet I learned about this only from a forwarded email from another person who had received a similar email that this event was being considered. We had no clue that any changes at all regarding home occupations were being considered. Therefore, I recommend that the county adopt some policy to alert neighborhoods about changes in codes that are being considered and that will affect them. Perhaps a list of formally organized HOAs or neighborhood associations to which notices could be sent would be fairer to them and not delay considerations as happened here this past month, and I hope will be resolved soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Ivy Schwartz. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. Ivy Schwartz, 3211 West Westwood Place in Tucson, 85745. I'm the president of Tucson Mountains Association. I think I know all the supervisors now. I'd like to thank the staff for working so closely with us the past couple of weeks. It's really been wonderful. As previous speakers have said, the responsiveness to neighborhood concerns is wonderful to see, the give and take. We had a very long, over an hour meeting a couple of weeks ago with them. I think it was an hour and a half. It was very good, and I felt really well heard and considered about that. I don't think well heard is good English, but at any rate, you get the idea. It was a very good meeting. I appreciate meeting with Supervisor Miller as well. Thank you so much. The previous two speakers have kind of summarized already the couple of points at this point that I wanted to make. The changes that came forth this past Friday address probably 95% or so of what we were concerned about, and that's really wonderful to see. The two things that have been mentioned before I want to just reiterate, and they have to do with the what we would consider a fair method of notification in rural areas, as well as the CR1. Because of the low density of housing, 1,000 feet really feels like a minimum to us. If you really want to let people know what's going on, you need to expand that, and I think that seems to me that would be doable. In addition, the dirt road issue I think is really, really important. I've heard from a number of members of TMA specifically about that because of the road they live on, and Ed certainly explained that very graphically, I guess, this morning. So if we can incorporate that into that, the 1,000-foot notification, the notification of all people who live on a dirt road that's not maintained by the county for these kinds of changes, proposed changes, that would be really good as well. I'm not opposed to continuing this, but I think that with those two adjustments, we're where we want to be. This has been a lot of time for the supervisors and staff getting to this point. It's time for people to come to speak with you during your Board of Supervisors meeting. So if the group is comfortable, if Ms. Miller is comfortable with making some of those several changes and moving forward on this, it would be fine with us as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Schwartz. Supervisor Bronson?
Yeah, question for Chris. I don't think in your January 18th version you've done anything with the dirt road issue.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Bronson, what we've done is in our January 18th version, we pulled out the expansion by neighbor notice element altogether. It was our home occupation. The idea was an easy administrative path for somebody to change a quantifiable standard of a home occupation without having to go to the Board of Adjustment. That's where we're having this
So at this point, they would have to go to the Board of Adjustment?
traditional Board of Adjustment, correct.
But the notification would be what? If
The
they went to
notification
board?
for traditional Board of Adjustment is 300 feet,
Yeah, okay,
regardless of zone.
Yeah, and so I think that's an issue, right? So that's an issue even if it does go to the Board of Adjustment, that 300 feet exists.
Supervisor Bronson, it might very well be an issue, but something we'd probably have to look at if we take another look at the Board of Adjustment notice unto itself. And we haven't evaluated then state statute. There might even be a dictation of a
Yeah, so it
notice.
sounds like we
don't
still have
know.
some homework to do.
Well, certainly when we take another look at the Board of Adjustment, I think that's when we're going to have the best opportunity to look at notice area, correct?
Okay. And then just clarification before we move on. The alignment with the state statute as it impacts home occupation is simply item 3 on your January 18th memo to Robin from Arlen. And so that's just item 3. Will allow for home baked goods and confectionaries as a home occupation. That's the only piece that you need to align with state statute.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Bronson, that in regards to home occupation, yes. Elsewhere, with our subdivision,
Oh, yeah,
the
no, I
commercial
know, but
subdivision,
as it
that's an
relates-
alignment
yeah,
too, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the only piece on home occupation
Correct.
that aligns with state statute is the one that allows for baked goods and confectionaries.
Correct.
Okay.
Further discussion? All right, we do have a motion on the table, so the motion before us is to continue into this item until the Board of Supervisors meeting of February 5th. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. The item is continued to the meeting of February 5th.
My only comment is, as we continue this to February 5th, if we still haven't resolved the home occupation issue, I'd like it to come so that we could then approve everything else. And if we have to continue the home occupation on February 5th, we can. But let's move on with the cleanup of the other items.
I think we should also incorporate elements of this conversation that has gone on in our agreement with the neighbors regarding those issues that you just specifically mentioned.
Okay.
You know? Does that make sense, guys?
Chris
Okay.
is nodding yes, but his face doesn't say yes.
Yeah, he looks, we can see his
He's worked really hard on this.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to item new business, plat note modification, item number 15, CO 12-93-11, Sabino Estates at Sabino Springs. Do we have a staff report on that one?
See, this is one, if we had passed this ordinance, we wouldn't have to deal with, right? No.
I'm afraid we still would. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before you is a request for a plat note modification, specifically of administrative control note number 20B of the subdivision CO 12-9311 Sabino Estates at Sabino Springs. This, if approved, this would provide then an increase of square footage for the development envelope specifically to lot 34 within the subdivision, so not every lot within it would benefit from this request if approved. The increase then would go from 9,200 feet to 11,000 square feet, again specifically in Lot 34. With this change, the overall grading cap established by the larger Sabino Springs specific plan is still being met. What happened is after this subdivision plat was approved, the developer re-engineered their spine road, did a much smaller than footprint of disturbance with their spine road, and now essentially lot owners, by coming to the Board of Supervisors, are trying to then get some of that grading back that was originally planned for a larger road. This is, I believe, the third request the board has seen on within the subdivision in the past 4 months. Staff is recommending approval of this request. We received no neighbor comment to date, and that concludes staff's report.
I make a motion to approve
And close public hearing.
and close public hearing for item 15, plat note modification, CO 12-93-11.
Second.
Motion and second to close the public hearing and approve item number 15, CO 12-93-11, Sabino Springs, or Sabino Estates, Sabino Springs. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 16, and resolution number 2013-4.
If there's no one in the audience that wishes to address us on this item at this time, I move to close public hearing and approve item 16 in resolution 2013-4.
Second.
Motion and second to close the public hearing and approve item number 16 and resolution number 2013-4. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to the addendum agenda, Board of Supervisors, sitting as other board, Flood Control District Board, resolution number 2013-FC2.
I'll move the item.
Second. Motion second is to approve resolution number 2013-FC2. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask?
Excuse me. Discussion.
Yes, I'd like to know, this item, this particular area, is it being condemned for the expansion of the La Cañada, Cañada del Oro wash? With that construction out there, is that the reason this is going on?
Mr. Luckabee?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller. It is a acquisition of the floodway and floodplain of the Cañada del Oro wash, and it's a full acquisition that allows us to connect the river park systems together. It is not necessarily related to the La Cholla Bridge construction, but it is a connecting feature for the river park system that takes it from La Cholla to La Cañada.
Okay, so it's strictly for increasing the pathway,
It is,
the loop.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, has several purposes. One is obviously the recreational component of the pathway, but more importantly, the whole issue of reserving and preserving the natural flood carrying capacity of the Cañada del Oro wash there, because we've done enough analysis to understand that any encroachment on the south would have an adverse effect on improved property on the north.
I understand that this has been going on for some period of time in discussions, and I haven't been a part of those, so this is all the information that I have on this, and so I was wondering, I know this probably took place in executive session, the discussion on this, yes or no? No? Okay. So I understand that there have been negotiations with the property owner, or attempts at negotiating with the property owner?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, there's been several attempts to negotiate with the property owner. The property owner wants significantly more than appraised value. We've now, I believe, had the property appraised at least twice, and the values from our official appraisal continue to drop as opposed to increase. So the gap between the owner's expectation of value and our appraiser's value is growing.
And is there, I guess once this is condemned, the process, the condemnation process, then we make an offer based on appraised value?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, yes, we will make an official offer. We've done it before, and again, the process is once condemnation is filed, the date of value is fixed, and then it's simply a matter of court proceedings and the various experts that may testify as to value and to usability of the property.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to the Stadium District Board, contracts A, B, C, and D.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'm going to go ahead and move Stadium District Board's contract A, B, C, and D. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Number 1, contracts, community services, employment, and training. Items A, B, and C.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, the motion before us is,
Stadium District A, B, C, and D.
okay.
Board of Supervisors in regular session.
All right. All those in favor of approving contracts A, B, C, and D on Stadium District Board, along with Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session contracts 1A, B, and C in regular or in the addendum agenda, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to hearings, franchises, licenses, permits. 2, 3.
Mr. Chairman?
All you.
Supervisor Elias.
I'm going to move items 2 and 3 and close the public hearings and consider myself invited by Supervisor Carroll to join him.
Second.
Motion before us is to close the public hearing and approve item 2 and 3 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Mr. Chairman,
Ayes have it. Supervisor Elias.
I'm going to move item 4 on the addendum.
Second.
Motion before us is on the approval of item number 4 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. We do have one card for call to the public. We are now there. Let me ask John Becerra, please come up, identify yourself for the record. Sir, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. John Becerra, 2120 East 32nd Street. And I am the chapter chairperson at SEIU Local 48, Pima County. Okay. I know Pima is a national leader in the sustainability and uses of renewable energy resources. And I would like to appeal to the board to continue its commitment to the sustainability action plan, and that would be for ratepayers and to the Pima, or people of Pima County. And we'd like to thank you for setting that sustainability action plan in 2008. It was actually signed in 2007, but it's for 2008, and I'd like to thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board or call to the public? Seeing none, this meeting stands adjourned.